Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Well, thank you so much for your time. Sunday morning. Appreciate your interest in the committee and this training, and hopefully I can give you just a little bit of clues about how to start developing your business ideas, and especially I'm going to talk about it from a nonprofit perspective because that's my expertise, where my experiences come from. But I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm talking about nonprofit perspective. It can be applied to any other professional fields wherever you are, and then why it is important. So I don't know if we have enough time to go over the two parts, so I have, but what I prepare is like two big components of my training. So one is business development, idea development in general. And the second one is I've been planning to talk to you about adaptive leadership, which is I'm going to talk about the definition later. Because I think that entrepreneurship is basically you start something new from zero ground. So you're a leader, you're going to be a team leader, at the same time you're going to be a team member. So I think that the concept of adaptive leadership could be very helpful for you to have some, basically make sure that you're mentally ready to start a new business with a lot of challenges or sometimes even frustration. But I'll try to make sure that I can at least go over the definition briefly. So go back to the point I mentioned, why NGO perspective. So these days, a lot of people try to think of like, how can my profits make the world better? Because that's the leadership which is required for the world we're living in today. So if you even think about huge corporations of America, for example, let's say there's a company such as Coca-Cola. They have corporate social responsibility office, or community initiative office, or community relations office. The reason why they built up the office within their organization is, of course, their company was started to make profits. They sell the products, make profits, and make more, and then try to target a larger public. But at some point, they started thinking about, we need to do something for our customers, we need to do something for our communities, because if our community is not sustainable, there's no customers. So this is a radical scenario, but let's say from an environmental perspective, if we do not work on conservation of marine biology or forest, like there's nowhere for us to live. So it just doesn't make sense that like even profit-driven entities work together with other organizations to make sure that our community is going to have sustainability. So we're going to keep having our customers. So I think that it's really important especially for our young generation, to think about what can I do for my communities? What can I do for others? What can I do? How can I use my resources and skill sets and business ideas for community at large? So in other words, we can say that we want to work together for public good, social well-being. So we actually not only focusing on growing your own profit-driven company, but at the same time, you can make sure that like we grow together. So we gonna benefit each other mutually. So NGO is basically it's a non-profit, non-governmental organization. So which means like the organization it's not driven for profits. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't have business aspects. Because literally, very simply, because non-profit organizations do not make revenues on their own, they need money from somewhere else. So we do fundraising. We go out and then we sell our ideas, we sell our missions and programs, and ask donors to give money to us. So that's how a non-profit organization makes money. So actually, small business or entrepreneurship models are equally applied to a non-profit organizations and vice versa. So I'm going to talk about like where can we find like profit-driven and non-profit-driven entities and find commonalities. I'm going to talk about a little bit after this slide. So back to the leadership point, that's the reason why I think NGO perspectives are important is because you need to have that type of leadership. Sometimes it is called ethical leadership. You think about others around you. You not only be for yourself only, but you try to help others and you try to grow together. And business power for social changes. Sometimes there is a little bit of limitation for nonprofit organizations. Their mission and program, their vision is really great, but because they don't generate revenue on their own, still, profit organizations, entrepreneurial organizations, or small businesses, they're still very powerful because they have enough finance, they have financial sustainability. So you've seen so many examples, a lot of startup or new tech companies are making social changes in our daily lives. For example, a tech company is developing applications for education for girls in remote areas. So they're not able to go to school because they're under poverty, there's no transportation, but tech companies develop tools or applications and make sure that they're able to access online educational resources that they learn on themselves, and they can find hope, they can find a dream in the future. So this is like a very typical example of a business is able to make social changes. And then it is called a social enterprise. So that's where, okay, you're still gonna make profits and then you're still gonna find investors who's gonna put their money in your idea, but at the same time, what you try to do is actually for social well-being. So that's what business can do very powerfully. So there are all different platforms you can put your business ideas on. So when we talk about business idea development, it's not only about profit organizations. It could be for nonprofit organizations, profit organizations. Also, among nonprofit organizations, there are different functions. So some organizations are only working for charity, advocacy, educational purposes, but some nonprofits are actually working for lobbying purpose to make sure that legislation changes for what they want. And I quickly mentioned the social enterprise, and of course we have profit-driven organizations, and we also have government. So for a lot of people think that like a government doesn't do business and they only work on policy. That's their business idea. So when government people need a new policy, they submit same type of, they need to write same type of proposal like nonprofit or profit organizations. They need to, their business idea is policy idea. And nonprofit, for the case of nonprofit, business idea is not about products or services, but about programs or a mission. So literally, as executive director of a nonprofit organization, what I do on a daily basis, I go out to find the potential investors. So we only need to change the language. For a profit organization, it's investors. For a nonprofit organization, it's donors. So I go out, try to find the potential donors, which are my customers actually. I do sales. Small business owners sell their products or services, but I sell my programs. We are running this program for our students, and this is our mission, and this is our vision. I do the same thing with profit-driven business sales managers, business executive. Go out and talk about my products, my services, and tell them these are good, and then you should invest your money. Only difference is, usually nonprofit organizations, I am a donor, I'm a buyer, and then I pay for International Leadership Foundation's program. And does benefit come back to me? No, because I don't care, because the reason why I give you money to this organization is for someone else, because I want to help someone else. The benefits do not come back to me. But usually for small business, customers are buyers and they're also the beneficiaries. So I buy service or product with my money, and then I'm the beneficiary of those services and products. So the huge main difference between nonprofit and profit-driven organizations is like, where does money come from, and then where does money go? So for profit organizations, where the money comes from is actually saying where the money goes. But for nonprofit organizations, where money comes from is actually different from where money goes for beneficiaries. So that's the reason why I made a note that for whom is nonprofit organization is basically for beneficiaries, not for donors. Donors just invest their money in any type of program they like for someone else. It's like unselfish purpose. So that's a main difference. But as you see, for profit driven, if I buy products or services, I'm the one who's gonna take them. So social enterprise is, as I said, sort of in the middle. The number one advantage, as I briefly mentioned, number one advantage of social enterprise is a lot of nonprofits are struggling to continue their business idea. They have a great mission, they have great vision, they have great programs, but asking donations from people, that's really tough. A lot of nonprofit organizations have the same problem. But if you build up a social enterprise, you are going to have separate ideas to make profits. And you can use those money for public good. Social enterprise, it can be a nonprofit actually, but it can be a profit-driven organization as well. You can have a lot of creativity in the realm of a social enterprise. So I think that when you think of you want to do your business for profits, but at the same time you want to contribute back to the community, I think social enterprise is going to be a good model, good platform to develop your business idea. But again, depending on specifically what you want to do, you can use a nonprofit platform or nonprofit lobbying platform, social enterprise platform, or profit-driven. You can even work with government if your business ideas like pretty work well for taxpayers. So, and then there's one, you are able to create this platform on your own. But number two, you have a great business ideas, but you don't have all the resources to build up a new company, and then you should hire staffers. You can go out with your business ideas and try to find collaborators or partners. So I think this is a wise start for your business development idea. If you have a great idea, if you have a great proposal, you can find your buyers, you can find your investors, but you can also find an organization which can help you, which can make sure that your business ideas are going to be realized, and that they're going to execute your ideas together. So for example, International Leadership Foundation, we have our own programs, but we've been working with like 15 to 20 different partners, government partners, corporate America, small business owners and entrepreneurs, and the leaders from social enterprise as well. We come together for an idea or for a project, and then we share resources. So make sure that when someone has a great idea, but does not have enough resources to run a whole organization, we don't want them to be disencouraged because of that reason. So what we can do, because we already have an institution, we already have staff, we already have an execution team, executive team, so we are like open to any people who has a great business idea or a proposal. So you can't be, I mean, my point is like you can be creative as much as you can. And then not only looking for investors or buyers, you can go out and to find your partners as well. And what I heard from, for example, huge investor like corporate America, what they like to do is like they really love to see collaborated proposal, because that means when I, as a Coca-Cola Social Responsibility Office executive, I would like to use my money for multiple beneficiaries, not just one company, not just one nonprofit organizations. So my experience is, for example, a couple of nonprofits who had similar goals and similar mission, we put proposal together, and then we presented it to one company, one donor, and then they accepted it. Their benefit is they can say, oh, we are actually sponsoring 3 to 5 different organizations at the same time, but they have a common goal. It's a coalition power. It's a collaboration. So it's mutually beneficial. We can receive money from them, And at the same time, the company is going to have a really great record that like we are sponsoring multiple entities at the same time, but we are working together very well. We are very well aligned for one common mission. So I think that my plan was actually like, I'm pretty sure like some of you already have like rough business idea, or especially I know some of the high school students are attending this training today. So it doesn't need to be specific, it doesn't need to have perfect plans, but I was actually wondering like what business idea you have. Like for example, in the future, I would like to develop iPhone application which can help people in vulnerable to natural disaster. So for example, like there has been a lot of cases of a lot of like Silicon Valley tech companies that developed applications for people who are in remote area in Africa under natural disaster. They were not able to communicate with each other, or they were not able to reach out to hospitals or doctors. By using those apps, they could get enough immediate assistance from nurses and doctors, even though they're far away from them. So something like that. So I think maybe we can have like 2 to 3 minutes very shortly, and then you can brainstorm about your business idea, and then just throw out some ideas to me. It doesn't need to be just even like one sentence is enough. You can tell me, oh, I want to do this and this for women empowerment. I want to do this for like for rural Chinese students in rural areas who need books. Or I want to use technology for voter registration. I want to use technology for poverty reduction, something like that. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and I'm going to go back to you and ask some of your business ideas. Sounds fine? Okay, we are going to resume it. So anyone can give me a quick idea of your future business? Yeah?
Well, our idea was basically, it was for cultural innovation, and basically for a small amount of money, which we haven't decided, somebody will get a random country, and then in return they'll be sent a box, which contains a shirt that like emphasizes the elements of that culture, and a bracelet with the colors of that flag, but most importantly, it'll contain a fact sheet that like really analyzes and emphasizes the important parts of that culture. And in general, our mission and goal is to just spread and just emphasize cultural diversification, and in the end maybe like decrease things like racism or cultural generalization and stereotyping.
Okay, so that's good. So your vision is you would like to get rid of like cultural discrimination. At the same time, you want to promote cultural diversity. So that's. I'm going to talk about any organizations, any business development proposals vision first. So what you really need to include in your proposal is number 1, vision. So vision is actually your dream. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Like how do you change the world? That's your vision. And then the vision comes from why question. So you see a problem, and then you think that it's a serious problem for our society. So what do you would like to say? Oh, why is it happening? And why is it important to address this problem? So you think that your vision is you have a question mark about why somewhere in the world they have a cultural discrimination. So I want to get rid of it. That's your vision. That's your dream. So it's a sort of like a bag. It's kind of large. It's in general, but that's what vision needs to be. So you see. Number 1 is like you find current problems you're interested in, or you find current problems you think they really need to be fixed, and then the question you need to throw out to your investors or buyers is, have you ever think about that? We think that it's really important to address. That's where why question from. That's where our vision comes from. So for example. Our organization, International Leadership Foundation, as Hui mentioned earlier, we see very low numbers of Asian Americans sitting in leadership positions. So that's a problem we found. Oh, why aren't they a lot more Asian Americans? Because we've seen so many qualified Asian American leaders around us, but they are not sitting at the decision-making table. So that's where our why questions come from. That's where our vision comes from. So our vision is we want to have more leadership diversity in the United States. That's our vision. That's our dream. So we don't know when it's going to be completely achieved, or when you think about a definition of dream, sometimes it's impossible to achieve, but you are heading to the point, you are pursuing it. So that's going to be your vision. It's pretty much similar with when you think about your dream. So I'm going to explain the differences later. A lot of people think that like dream is like, oh, I want to be an analyst. I want to be a financial professional. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. That's not vision. That's your goal. So vision is like you achieve your goal, and then what do you want to do? With your expertise, with your skills, what do you want to do? That's your vision. If you only think about a particular job position or certain title, that's not your vision. That's just one of your life goals, actually even in the short term. So vision is mainly about why is this problem existing in this world? That's going to be your vision. When you talk about your vision to your potential donors or investors, a lot of investors found out a common problem is that new business ideas only talk about negative aspects of the current problem. So, there's like cultural discrimination so bad, and then we hate it, we don't like it. That's not your vision. You should tell them, we've witnessed cultural discrimination, and we are coming suggestions. So we know that we are not able to solve all cultural discrimination examples in the world, but I see that the problem exists, and that I've been asking to myself why it exists, and from that I build up some solutions, some suggestions. So when you write your proposal, don't try to include not too many negative aspects of the current problem. You can give them some powerful numbers. For example, back to the leadership positions of Asian Americans have, Congress members only 3%, and the Fortune 500 CEOs only 4% or 3%, something. That's very powerful numbers. You can give them some numbers and some examples, but don't try to include like negative, nuanced languages in your proposal. You should give them positive projections in the future. You should give them like a nuance that like we have solutions, because you should give them a feeling that like, oh, this problem exists in the world, but we are able to fix it together. So that's what you need to include in your vision part. And next one is mission. Vision and mission is a little bit different. A lot of people are confused between the definition of a vision and mission. Literally, I said vision is like more like a dream. Mission is your organization's objective and goal. So, for example, as I said, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer. That's sort of like, as I said, that's your goal. That's your objective. That's going to be your mission. So if you think about the organizational level, for example, our organization, International Leadership Foundation, our vision is we want to have more leadership diversity in the United States, because there are like not many minorities sitting at decision-making tables. So our mission is, our goal, our objective is to train young people to be a leader. It's very simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. It should be very clear, very concise, and very compact. If you write down your mission statement, and if it's more than 2 sentences, there's something wrong. Like you are not clear about what you're trying to do. So, for our example is, your mission statement need to include 3 components: for who, how, and for what. So let's say that there are like serious cultural discrimination or like gender discrimination against females or girls somewhere. So that's your vision, is like you want to get rid of it. Your mission statement is going to be for who? Girls or women. That should be included in your mission statement. And how? We are going to send like sort of like a packet or box to them, like they can use. We're going to sell them a tool. So that's going to be your programs I'm going to talk about later. And for what? To get rid of gender discrimination. So these 3 components should be included in your mission statement, but at the same time need to be really simple. So back to the case of International Leadership Foundation, for who? Young generations. How? Leadership training. And for what? To make them to be a leader in the future. It's very clear. Through leadership training, we make young generations to be future leader. And go up to vision. What's our vision? Promote a leadership diversity in the United States. So does it make sense that like how vision and mission is different from each other? So quickly, like when you write your mission statement, the best thing you can do is actually for whom, what, and how, just to pick up keywords. And then by using those 3 keywords, you can build up a sentence. And then that's going to be your mission statement. So in your proposal, you're going to include your vision, and you're going to include a mission. And I mean, right now we're like talking about nonprofit example, but as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, this case can be applied to any business ideas, and this is what investors would like to see. So the second thing is a program. So if you go back to mission statement, the program is actually about how. So how are you going to get rid of cultural discrimination? And that's going to be your program. For our case, how is we provide leadership training. That's our how. That's our program. So for International Leadership Foundation, we have multiple programs of leadership training for young generations. So program designing is going to be your how solution. And under program category, you need to include input, output, outcome, impact, those 4 components. The last one is I'm going to talk about it later. So input and output is, it's like math formula. Fx equal y. So you put x is 30, so the result y is going to be something. So, for example, program input is, let's talk about the training this morning here. So input is, we spend $300 for this training, and then we promote this training. That's our input. How much money are you going to use for this program? That's mainly like the most important part of your input. And then speakers are also input. I am part of input as well. So whoever invited me to speak to you, that's one of the inputs as well. Output. Output is like easily, like you can think of numbers. So output is, let's say we have 40 people here this morning. That's output. So we made this input, and to this morning's training session's output is we have 40 people attending here. That's our output. A lot of people get confused between output, outcome, and impact. So let me tell you how they are different from each other. Outcome is, we've been talking about business development idea. We've been talking about, we had like fruitful discussions about business management and operations. That's outcome. What did we do through this program? That's our outcome. So it's different from output. Output is more about metrics. Numbers you can show your donors and investors. And outcome is more about like substantially, what did you do during the training? That's going to be your outcome. Impact. Impact is something further. Okay, you attended the training this morning, and we talked about business idea development, and then you leave this training, go out of the building, and by using skill sets you learned this morning, you started new business. That's your impact, that's your narrative, that's your testimonial. So when we talk about program impact, is actually how I conceptualize impact is literally, I said, after a certain program, after training, after a certain workshop, what did you do after that? Did you use anything you learned from this workshop for your future business idea development? That's going to be your impact. So for going back to our organization, for example, we do leadership training. Input, I spent $500 for leadership training, and then I invited 5 speakers. And output, 100 college students attended my workshop, Asian American college students. Outcome, we talked about how to develop our leadership potentials and career, personal development, and then they had discussions with speakers, between speakers and students about their future career path. And that's outcome. And the impact, after the training, some of our students, it doesn't need to be all students. 20 or 30% of students who attended my workshop took a junior leadership role in their organization. That's going to be outcome. And the best way you describe your, that's going to be impact. The best way to describe your impact is, for example, for my case, I go to students, those 20-30% students who ended up taking a junior leadership role in their organization after my training. I go to those students and ask them, can you give me a testimonial? So can you give me like 5 or 6 sentences about how did you think about the workshop and then how the workshop impacted your life? And then get a testimonial from your beneficiaries and include that in your proposal. So that's going to be a very powerful narrative for future investors or donors. But I know that when you started your business idea for the first time, you have no testimonial because you haven't started yet. So what you can do is estimated outcome, estimated impact, estimated output. That's what you can do. So in terms of that, execution matters. You need to be realistic. So you have some imagination in your mind, like, okay, with this business idea, I'm gonna do this and this. So for example, when you're able to, you know that how much resources you have. So when you think that I probably can get 30 people attending my workshop, if that's your estimation, my recommendations into output, put like 25 people or 20 people, a little less than what you estimate actually. But don't go over that. You know that you can only recruit 30 people attending your workshop, but if you're gonna put 100 people, that's not going to be a realistic proposal. So when people think about business development, idea development, they really try to think about something huge, but you are starting from zero. It doesn't matter how big or small your program or mission and vision is. It can be small, it can be small scaled, because the most important thing is like, are you able to actually make some impact? The impact doesn't need to go to like 1,000 people or 1 million people over the world at the same time or for the first time. You can even impact 2 students. You can even impact 3 students. The impact means your program is going to change their lives. So it's not, impact is not about like one day effection, or like impact doesn't target like a week or a year change. Impact means like you're trying to change someone's life. You're trying to make a social change. So quantity, of course, if you have like a higher and higher quantity, that's going to be helpful to attract more investors, because they think that like, oh, your program works very well, and that your program is actually able to target so many people. That means like bigger changes. But when you start your new business idea for the first time, don't worry about quantity too much, but just make sure that you have a realistic proposal, and then make sure that you have resources for executing the idea, and then make sure that you are able to have estimated impact. 1 or 2, starting with like 1 or 2 people who changing their mind and try to get rid of cultural discrimination, try to have a higher position in their work, that's enough. If you think of it like Amazon, Google, all the huge companies, or like a huge corporate America, they started their business in one room with one person. That's where they come from. So when you start a new business with new business idea development, I would say quality is more important. I'll be a little bit faster from now on because we have limited time. So next, what you really need to include is your budget. In terms of budget narrative, literally you're going to have something like an Excel spreadsheet as like, if you're going to give me $50,000, I'm going to use this money for item number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Two most important things. Number one is like you should have a sort of executive summary that like, oh, your $50,000 is going to be used for this program. You need to have a clear statement that where donors' money or investor money would go. And then you're going to have like a breakdown of like specific budget narratives, like where 20% of your $50,000 will be used for item number 1, 30% of $50,000 will be used for item number 2, something like that. And it is really wise to include your current resources. So investors are going to give you $50,000, but you can tell them, but I have volunteers and I have in-kind donations. So those resources are going to be combined with your donation. So when you write budget narratives, also show them, I said that when you write down your vision statement, don't be too negative, but show them some hope, show them some positive aspects. Budget narrative is pretty similar. You're asking money, but at the same time, you need to show them a little bit of like your capacity, your current capacity. I need more money from you, but I have a little bit of resources I can utilize. So they can feel like relieved that like, oh, they actually have something to use immediately, so my money is not going to be wasted for unnecessary costs or hiring more people, something like that. In terms of budget narrative, the third one is tell your investors or donors that your money is going to be used for program rather than admin costs. If you really think that there should be definitely some admin costs like office supplies and things like that, what you can do is when you write your budget narrative, include those charges under program fees. So make a category like program fees, program management fees. They can include a little bit of salary from your staff and office supplies or insurance for your staff and things like that. So make sure that like how you can reframe your budget items to make sure that your investors feel like, oh, most of my money, at least 80%. I think the ideal number is 75% or 80% of your donation or your investment will directly go into a program and directly benefit someone who's going to get benefits from our program. And this could be optional, but it's really good to include in your proposal. Investors are going to give you money and then they expect some outcomes, but additionally you can think of, oh, this is what we can do for you as an investor in the future. For example, let's say the Young Ladies organization is a nonprofit organization and they work for girls against cultural discrimination. So I'm gonna give them $1,000, and what they can include in their proposal is, well, we would really appreciate your $1,000 donation. In return, what we can do is we are going to put your logo somewhere on our website so I can have a lot more exposure to my potential customers. So let's say that I am running a cosmetics company, and then I'm trying to reach out to more public, especially through online. So I'm gonna put my logo on their nonprofit website, and then people see that, and then I'm trying to get a little bit of like potential customers that I'm looking for. And at the same time, we can make sort of agreement or a contract between each other that on my website, I can say, 5% of my company's profits go to their organization to help girls. So this is like a small examples of benefits. But think about like how you can provide a sort of customer service or satisfaction or return to your investors as well. When we think about investors, we only think about one aspect. They give me money that I do my work. But you need to think about like while I receive their money and they run my programs, like how can I make sure to maximize the benefits my investors take away? So that's what additional thing you can include in your proposal. Quickly, find investors. Here, there are like a couple different things about what I want to emphasize. Number one, you need to do some work for public awareness, raise awareness of your problem. So going back to your vision statement and mission statement, and I think that for International Leadership Foundation, I don't think that there's enough leadership diversity in this country. So I go out for an educational purpose and then use the powerful numbers. We have only 2 or 3% representation in US Congress. So this is just, I don't know if this would attract donors immediately or not. I don't know, I can't guarantee. But overall, in the long term, what I need to do is like I need to go out and then talk to people that like, do you know that this is actually a serious problem in our society? Do you know? You don't know? And if you don't know, I can share stories with you. So you need to do a little bit of work like to raise public awareness of the problem you think it's important. And if someone really doesn't know about cultural discrimination, you should go out and tell them cultural discrimination is a serious problem. It seriously hurts our society. You should educate them. So, and then, of course, at the same time, you can get some feedbacks from your audiences as well. So you need some educational work. And second is find investors, do strategic networking. So when I talk about networking, it's not like you go to 1,000 random events and they exchange business cards. Don't be obsessed with like how many business cards you are collecting. You need to have a very clear target. For example, the training this morning, the reason why I want to come to this training is because I have a very clear target. For example, I want to talk to Mrs. Hui Zhang from VNet company. She's going to be my target, and I attend this training, and then you should accomplish the goal. Or any chance you're gonna find a chance to talk to her, exchange business card, which is strategic, and then make sure that you follow up with her after this training. That's your strategic networking. Do not waste your time on going to unnecessary events which are not helpful for your business. And whenever event you are going to reception, dinner, banquet, seminar, check their speakers list, or they can be potential investors list, and make sure that like who you want to talk to. If there's no target you don't need to be there. So for basically, I've been giving you like a very general idea. This is a very, very general idea of a business idea development and how to write a proposal. There are a lot of online resources on how you can write it, but my session is just like to open to you. Here's some ideas, and then some ideas from my personal experiences. I'm pretty sure like there are a lot more experts and resources out there. But I think the most important thing is like you clearly know what you would like to do, and that you don't get confused between your vision, mission, programs. So when you have like a rough business idea and you don't clearly know where to start, you can like simply think about this procedure. Set out your vision statement first, and mission statement, and then your programs, input, output, outcome, impact, and think about what you can do investors. So that's pretty much like a simple like structure of your proposal, and that's how your proposal should look like. But I'm more than happy to continue a conversation with you sometime later during lunch break. And unfortunately, I don't think I have time to talk about leadership part, but hopefully we can have a chance to talk about that later. Any like future, any training in the future. As I quickly mentioned, so basically the leadership is about when you start something from zero ground with new business development idea. A lot of people think about like, oh, what I'm gonna do if I success. A lot of entrepreneurs, like new business owners, they actually fail for their first try, like 70%. So there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of emergencies, and then there are a lot of unexpected situations that you need to deal with. And sometimes your investors said, like, oh, I'm gonna give you $50,000 by next week, but actually they don't do that.
So basically, especially for entrepreneurship and for new business idea development, like you need to adjust yourself very quickly for like ongoing, rapidly changing environment. You should be very resilient. You should be very flexible. At the same time, you need to know how to create your team and then how to lead them. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you give enough recognition and credit to your team members, because when you start a new business, every single team member is largely contributing to your business development. So that's pretty much my point of like when I was planning to talk about adaptive leadership. So basically the adaptive leadership means like when you leaders are going to have so much frustration, confusion, failure when they start a new business. But that's what you need to go through. So like you should be like emotionally strong. Okay, I really hope that it's a little bit helpful for your business development, business idea development, and then hopefully we can have like an evolving conversation for our common goals and ideas. Thank you.